friends, welcome back to another video. Alright, in this video we're going to be showing you how easy it is to start your food forest, in the subtropics. I know a lot of you sometimes probably watching videos and be like wondering, how do I start my own food forest? Where do I start? One of the plus side with the subtropics, we have two of the main things: plenty of sun and rain. So those are two big factors that will definitely enhance you having a food forest. So what we're going to do is walk around, just give you a few tips on if you decide to, if you want to start a food forest in the subtropics or the tropics. We're going to give you some tips on how simple it is. My food forest is going on 7 years plus, and I'm gonna tell you exactly how I started it, and you could follow that same blueprint and get your own, and then add additional stuff to, or as I said, the food forest, your garden, is a place of experiments. You could do some experiments, but just stick with the basic core stuff, which is, making your soil healthy. You have two other factors that's always there. It's the sun and rain. All right, let's get into the video. I know a lot of you guys always, watching these different videos, and the first thing come in your mind, man, I dream of the day that I could actually step outside and just be harvesting my own fruits, herbs, greens, and more, So if you really want to see how simple this is, just keep watching, and we're gonna go through a few steps and show you how simple it is. All right, guys, step one. What's step one? What's the first thing I should try and do to start that process of creating a food forest? All right, let's walk into the food forest and let's show you guys. All right, one of the first things we're gonna make sure we have is the healthy soil. Healthy soil is the foundation, having a healthy food forest. And here in especially like Florida, for example, if you just bought a home and you have a backyard, it's gonna the soil won't be that good. So one of the things you could start with is, a foundation is getting the soil healthy. One of the things you're gonna probably have on your hand is a lot of grass in your backyard, in the front yard, and you're gonna be probably cutting those lawns on a regular, instead of dumping that lawn. In the event you don't use no chemical on your grass, I wouldn't advise, if you're using chemical on the grass, to use that to start your food forest. But if you go in the organic way and everything, and you've been cutting grass, I'll show you an example. This is my grass from my front yard, and I still just throw it back here and just leave it, let it break down, But that's the first thing, one of the first things you could do. When you cut your lawn, take the grass and start dumping in different areas of the garden or your food forest where you want to start. Let's walk down here and let's show you what that become. Yeah, let's just move this away and let's show you something. Look at that, guys. Beautiful. Look at all this stuff. This breaks down, keep moisture, and there's so much life underneath this soil right now. Like a lot, Okay, guys, beautiful. You can see all the insects in the soil. So that's one of the first thing. Look, the dark, rich, looking good. So we'll complete step one, which is find a way to mulch the areas that you're gonna start those fruit trees. As I said, the easiest way, and is an input that you have right on hand. You have a lot of grass. You're always gonna be cutting your lawn. Spread the cut grass different areas of that backyard where you want to start the food forest. Leave it there for a week, and it's gonna just start preparing that soil, getting rich with the rain and the sun, everything breaking down, turn into some rich, beautiful compost. And then we could start thinking about what plants to actually add to the. All right, so what next? For me, I can tell you exactly what I did in the beginning. The first thing I did was to add some pioneer plants. What are the pioneer plants? Plants that grow fast, and you could actually use them as chop and drop as well, you know. And they produce, some of them are nitrogen fixers. They produce shade. They improve the soil, and because they grow so fast, you know, once they reach a certain age, you could start planting younger plants around them, younger fruit trees around them, and the shade from that is going to protect those younger plants. Let me show you some of the moringa trees that still exist in this food forest after going on 8 years. Look at this, guys. This is the 80-year-old moringa tree that's still here. Still, you could see, you know, got beat up by tons of hurricane, all that stuff, you know, and still going, yeah. Let me show you another moringa here. Yeah, there's another moringa here that I use it as one of my pioneer plants. Yeah, still going strong. Yeah, let me show you another one. This is another moringa here. Yeah, yep, still going strong. Yeah, yep, yeah. And other stuff that I planted was pigeon peas. Yeah, pigeon peas are another fast growing plant. Let's walk over to the pigeon peas. All right, this is pigeon peas. And nitrogen fixing, help the soil, everything. Beautiful, you know, produce these pods that you could actually eat, fast growing, you know, provide shade. Right now it's providing shade for a lot of young plants underneath here, you know. You know, you can find pigeon peas different places online to buy and use. Yeah, that's the pigeon peas. So I planted maybe about like, and they grow fast. As I said, pigeon peas is known type, you know, grow extremely fast. You know, other stuff you could add while you're adding the pigeon pea is cassava. You go online, buy 4 or 5 pieces of cassava. You know, you could cut them in half, depends on the size, and just split them up all different areas of that food forest. Guys, within 6 months, you're gonna see your food forest just look, your backyard is gonna start being transformed into a food forest. Cause that's how I started mine. And how I did it too was to plant my pigeon peas like on the outer area of the food forest with the moringas, you know, and leave path. You see right here, I got a path running here, you know, but I had my pigeon peas on the edge over there with papayas. Those papayas have long since die back. You know, papaya only live like, you know, 4 years and they start dying back. Then I create another path there, you know. Look, papaya, another pioneer plant. Papaya, another pioneer plant that grows fast, gonna provide, look at this papaya right here. It's here, but it's providing shade for, you know, the sugar apples. Providing a lot of shade, providing shade for this, you know, purple forest guava. You know, look, papaya here providing shade for my guava, you know, providing shade, you know, a lot of shade. So the funny thing, so far you realize that, you know, building a food forest isn't as hard as it sounds. You add those few plants that grow really quick and you're gonna be extremely surprised how fast those, you know. Oh look, you see up there with that tree with all those pod, that's another moringa planted 7.5 years ago. Yeah, and it's still here, still providing shade for a lot of trees. And then the plus side of this, the moringa, you could use it in teas, you could use it in salads, you know, the pigeon peas, you know, so you're getting food at the same time. Like, you know, in no time your moringa, that same year in the subtropics, you're gonna probably get pods and you start using the leaf from the moringa. Pigeon peas, that same year, by the end of the year, you're gonna start harvesting pigeon peas. The papaya, you give it like a year and a half and you're gonna start getting fruits, you know. Yeah, so one of the things, as we just was mentioning, the height of the trees and, you know, how fast they grow, it provides these layers, because you need these layers in the food forest. You know, I mean, the faster growing trees, they're shading the younger fruit trees that they're keeping everything healthy in the process, you know, helping the soil and everything. You know, a lot of people always intend to like get rid of all the weeds. You know, for me, you know, I use you know, sweet potato as a ground cover that will actually suppress whatever weed you have a problem with. And then the sweet potato is another fast growing stuff, you know, plant that's gonna cover the ground, protect the soil, but you're gonna get food from it because you could also eat the leaves of the sweet potato and in a couple months you're gonna also have the root of the potatoes to eat. One thing you must remember, every forest grow in layers. You have the fast growing trees and the ones that take a little time to grow. The fast growing trees provide shade for the. So we create that kind of environment that we're mimicking that food forest environment. We're mimicking it by growing the moringa, growing the pigeon peas, adding the cassava, and then we put our younger fruit trees. Like suppose you bought a grafted mango, or something like that. Like this is a grafted mango here, and once I put this here, I had pigeon peas around it. I had like 2-3 papayas around this tree, when I did it. But after a while, then I start cutting those down. Those pioneer trees did their job. So now I cut them once the tree get fully established with its roots and everything. So after you add, after you start adding the pioneer trees, which is the pigeon peas, this is another pioneer plant you could actually have that grows fast. This is cranberry hibiscus, grows extremely fast. You could use the leaves in salads, and it's a beautiful color. Have a beautiful flowers during the fall, winter time, but let's get back to after we add those pioneer plants. What are the fruit trees you want to add? Well, all right, let's start with the easier fruit trees to grow. One of the easiest fruit trees to grow is sugar apple. Easy to grow from seed. Within 18 months to 2 years, you're gonna have fruits. You start preparing 1 fruit or 2 fruit, and it moves from there. Easy to grow. What's another fruit tree you could actually add? All right, let's go as we show you the sugar apple. Let's walk through here. Yeah. So as I said, sugar apple is one of those easier fruit trees to add. Another one that's easy from cutting to grow is, let's walk here. Look at this guy. What's this? Mulberries. Mulberries grow like a weed in the subtropics. Like a weed. So you could get 5-6 cuttings, add them different areas of the food forest, and that's another one that's easy to grow. We mentioned papaya already. Another easy fruit tree to grow, which I grew mine from seed, is, all right, let's get right here, is guavas. Guava is another easy one. I grew mine from seed. In 2.5 years we had fruits. So imagine if you go to the nursery and buy an established tree already. Within the end 16 months, you're probably gonna start having fruits on your tree. Once we give in the soil the love it needs to get. Because remember the key is, keep giving the soil as much love as possible, meaning mulching, compost, and we build them that soil. Okay, remember everything with the food forest starts with the soil. If you look on the ground here, you're gonna just see twigs and broken branches, because what? I prune my food forest every year and just drop everything on the ground there, providing back a bunch of nutrients from my soil. And if you see how lush and beautiful my food forest is, it's a welcoming area for wildlife. Meaning wildlife is, we have so much different color birds we see come in here in the morning. Another easy one to add, that's not a fruit tree, but it's also a perennial leafy green, is katuk. We're gonna do a video totally on katuk soon. All right. One other thing, I always get questioned about for years is people ask me, oh, do you irrigate your food forest? No, I don't actually. I do water young fruit trees, like tiny young fruit trees that I just put in the ground from a container or something like that. I do water them for maybe a week or so, during the drought period. During the rainy season like now, I do nothing. Plant them in the ground. The pigeon peas, you could start cutting and use it as mulch. even the papaya leaves. As the papaya grow, you start cut off some of these branches. The papaya get taller once you do that, you know, and use it as mulch. The moringa, you could start trimming that and use it as mulch, you know, because we want to keep the soil protected. We want all that life to be in the soil. Let's look here, guys. This is, look at back here. Look at the ground right here, guys. This is all broken. Look at the life. Look at it, guys. And this is supposed to be sand, this floor. Look at that, guys. Beautiful. Everything that's breaking down and that's creating a beautiful environment for the food forest. Look how beautiful the cassava is thriving. Let's imagine all these plants back here that looking so green and lush, and we do nothing to them than just mulch. Nothing else. Nothing else. You know, I do have rabbit manure, and I use it on my young fruit trees. If I have a new seedling that I just planted from a container, then I'll use that. You know, and over the years I use that to promote fast growth. You know, and that it could be healthy when the winter time come around. It could actually deal with the winter. You know, so that's it, really. You know, the food forest is easy to start. You know, start with the pioneer plants, which is your pigeon peas, your moringa, you know, your papaya, your cassava, you know. And even if you're not in a subtropical area and you want to start your food forest, all you got to do is look for the pioneer plants in your area. You know, fast growing, you know, pioneer plants that's going to help the soil. You know, you have plenty of leaves up, you know, up north. If you want to start a food forest, yeah, you won't be able to grow the tropical plants and stuff, but you're going to be able to grow your peach, your plum, and all that. So the same concept. Find the pioneer plants, put them in, you know, and then, you know, you go from there. Start small, which is, you know, just mulch, you know, grass clippings. You have all that stuff on hand, and I'm telling you, a way to start your food forest without spend, you know, breaking the bank to do that as well. You know, plant in layers. Mulch, I'm going to say again, heavy in mulch, chop and drop, and big in chop and drop. Pick hardy plants that love your environment, love the climate you're in. I say if you're in the subtropics, you know, you could do, there's a lot of, you know, stuff online. If you know, I probably can't list all the plants right now, but you could shoot me a text message, you know, email, and I'll just give you a list. There's a list of them that you could actually add. You know, over time, your food forest will just feed the whole family. You know, that's what it does here. We have root crops, we have fruits. I could come out here any morning, any day of the year, and find a fruit, one fruit to 20 fruit to 50 fruit, depending on the time of the season. That's how much food the food forests keep providing, producing non-stop with little to no care at all. You know, I know a lot of people probably believe you're out here every day toiling. No, you know, once you set it up, the system runs itself. You know, once you put everything in place, you know, the system runs itself, especially in the subtropics, you know. So listen, if you found this video helpful, just remember to share it with as much people as you can. You know, remember to give a thumbs up, you know, and I thank you guys for always just tuning in and supporting the channel. All be blessed with peace, love, happiness, and kindness. One love. See you guys in the next video.